Hi, Benilde Eagles. This is Ms. Barker. We're going to take a look today at writing equations. So using page 29 of your journal, I would like for you to please copy what I have written down so far. So I'm going to pause the video and then we'll come right back. So what we're going to look at today is writing verbal equations into algebraic equations. We've done this already with expressions. It's just now we're going to have an equals. We're going to have one side that will be equivalent to another side. If we look at the first situation, we have 1/2 of x plus 32 is as much as the sum of 15 and 6 times x. So in this case, you're already given that we're going to use the variable x. Other times it would say 1/2 of a number, you're going to use x and y, whatever you feel like. So for this one, we have 1/2 of x. We would write that as 1/2 x plus 32. So plus 32 is as much. That tells you you're going to have equals. The sum of, so we're going to be adding the sum of 15 and 6 times x. So we're going to add 15 plus 6 times our number x. Now sometimes on your assignment you will be asked to translate from here to here. Other times you would be asked to go the other way around. But we would still, as we read this, it would be a matter of changing this back into the words. 1/2 of x plus, here's my 32, is as much as, or equals, whatever you want of that nature. The sum of, so because we know we're adding, here's my 15, and then here's my 6 times x. If you were coming up with your own, maybe you mentioned the product of 6 and x. Your choice there. All right, copy the next one. I'm going to pause, and we'll come right back. Okay, this one we have a number x to the 3rd power is the same as the product of 24 and x plus 4. So we're starting off, we're taking x to the 3rd power. So we'll write that down. Is the same as, is, notice that use of is again, so we're going to have equals. So is the same as, so equals, the product, I'm going to be multiplying some things. I'm going to multiply the 24 and x. So I'll write my 24x. And then separate, we have this plus 4. All right, copy this one down. For this one, we have the square of x is the same as 2 times the difference of x and 10. We're starting off with the square of x. So you're going to take your x and you'll square it. Is the same as, so equals, 2 times the difference. That means 2 times what we get when we subtract. I expect to have a 2 and then something is going to be in parentheses that will involve subtraction. As to what am I subtracting? It says the difference of x and 10. So I have to take my x minus 10. So notice I had to use the parentheses because it was 2 times that difference, 2 times what I did with this full subtraction. Go ahead and copy this next one, and then we'll come back. Okay, for number 4, we have the product of 3 and the square of x equals the sum of 30 and the product of 9 and x. So if we consider the first part, the product of 3 and the square of x, what we get when we multiply 3 with the square of x. So we will write a 3 and we'll write the x squared equals, well, that's pretty straightforward, equals the sum of, so I'm going to be adding some stuff, the sum of 30 and the product. So I'm going to take 30 plus, now this 30 plus I'm going to be adding with the product of 9 and x. So I have to take 9 times x We can just show it like that because we can have our coefficient right next to our variable, and that's going to indicate multiplication. All right, copy the next one, and then we'll come right back. For number 5, we have the perimeter of a regular pentagon is 5 times the length of each side. By the way, pentagon is a 5-sided figure. A regular figure is a figure where all the sides have the same length. So the perimeter, which I'll put P equals, the perimeter is 5 times the length of each side. So if I take 5 times whatever each side is, then I'm going to get the perimeter of that regular pentagon. All right, copy number 6 and then come back. So for this one, we have the sum of a number and one more than the number is 7. If you think of what that's telling you that we're going to add, we're going to take a number. So that'll be n. Now think of what one more than the number would be. That would be where we would take that number and we would add 1. So like if your number is 5, you do 5 plus 1, the next one is 6. So one more than the number, we have to show that number again plus 1. It says the sum of this number and one more than the number. So you have to take the original number plus this one more. Notice that parentheses I put in, mathematically, it doesn't matter. But to help us better see it, it can tremendously help. Because here's my original number. Here is one more than my number. And you can tell I'm adding these two together. Is, so equals, and then 7. Before too long, we're going to be practicing something called consecutive integers. And consecutive integers, those are the numbers that are going to come just one right after the other, such as 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth. Well, look at this one. If your number was 3, one more than that is 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. And these are consecutive integers because 3 comes immediately before 4. Okay, this number 7, go ahead and copy it, and then we'll come right back. All right, if we look at number 7, we have the density of an object is the quotient of its mass and volume. So the density, we'll represent that with a D, is equals quotient. Quotient tells us to divide. Remember, product is multiply, quotient is divide. So the quotient of its mass and volume. So that would be mass over volume. Please use fractions to represent division. You are in algebra. We are done with the elementary style line dot dot. Please show it like this. All right, the last one, I'm going to pause the video and then you've got lots to copy. All right, so we have Brian bought 17 items for his camping trip, including tent stakes, packets of drink mix, and bottles of water. He bought 3 times as many packets of drink mix as tent stakes. He also bought 2 more bottles of water than tent stakes. How many tent stakes did he buy? So everything seems based on tent stakes, and besides that, the question is asking how many tent stakes. That's why the first thing I did was I identified my variable, let T equal the number of tent stakes. So he bought 17 items. 17 equals. He bought tent stakes, so that's T plus. Then we have he bought 3 times as many packets of drink mix as tent stakes. So if you take 3 times the tent stakes, you've got the drink mix. So now we have tent stakes and we have drink mix. Plus, he bought 2 more bottles of water than tent stakes. So however many tent stakes he bought, if you add 2 to it, you know how much water he bought. So I'm going to put this in parentheses for clarity, t plus 2 close parentheses. In terms of just translating the equation, that's as far as we go. We're done. I will point out, being that this is a good application problem, we could then say 17 equals, if I combine like terms, I have a t plus 3t plus another t. That's a total of 5 t's. 1 plus 3 plus 5. So that would be 5 t's plus, the only constant I have, the only plain old number I have is 2. So plus 2. So if you think logically through this, if t is equal to 3, 5 times 3 is 15, and 15 plus 2 would give us the 17. So he bought 3 tent steaks. 3 times t would give us the drink mix of 9 packets of that. And then the 3 plus 2 would give us the 5 for 5 bottles of water. All right, I'm very glad that you took care of your notes. See you in class.